quit your job. If you want to become financially free, quit your job. Now, when I say this, you'll be like, wait, where do I get my income? The income I'm talking about is who's to quit the job is if you are married with kids, one of you should quit your job. And the reason why I say this is because if you start running the numbers, you come out ahead. Actually, if the lowest earner quits his or her job, usually is her. That's not being sexist, just how it is, because the woman usually has maternity leave and taking care of babies and is a little more designed to care for babies better. Again, that's just how God made it. Now, whether you like it or not is irrelevant. But the point I'm saying here is if you want to become financially free, the best way to do it is to quit your job. Now, what I did was I came up with a spreadsheet that gave some very reasonable numbers showing the difference between if you would have a two income, two parent household versus a single income, two parent household. Now, these numbers are very reasonable. Now, yours could be totally different. I know mine are slightly different in this, but on the other hand, yours are probably fairly close as mine are. Now, there's a number of categories that either zero for me or have been able to decrease my spending in certain areas, or maybe I'm spending more money in other areas. But here nor there, this is a good example of what we're looking at when we look at money here. All right, let me switch screens here. So here is a outline or a spreadsheet of the differences, and I separated this out per column for single income two parent household monthly, then yearly, and then I talk about second the dual income two parent household monthly and then yearly. So each column is different, and I just categorized everything under main categories in each row: primary income, secondary income. I even have additional side gigs and things like that. I talk about total income, that we calculate all that out. And I talk about income tax. These numbers are probably fairly accurate. So income tax, the reason why I have two different income taxes here, which we'll talk about here shortly, is because when you start making more, you usually tax a little more. So throw those numbers in the mix as well. And now housing, rent or mortgage, and all the costs for housing, electricity, like utilities. So we can talk about internet, phone, health insurance, child care, transportation, car insurance, debt repayment, like credit cards, student loan debt, entertainment, eating out, lawn care, house maintenance, savings and retirement, etc., etc. Now, if you've peaked, you see that interestingly, you come out better if you actually have a single parent working in the average U.S. family. Now, again, this is average. Your numbers might be totally different, but this is a very reasonable situation for a family. Primary income, number one, like this is usually maybe the dad making, let's say, about $55,000 a year. That's very average. Interestingly enough, when I was researching it, it seems like when you have two incomes, usually the primary income person, like usually the dad, doesn't make as much as if you just have a single parent working, which is quite interesting to me. I'm not sure why. It's just how it is. Now, you could use apples to apples and just say, oh, the same, 55K per year for both categories. Fine, you can do that too. But this is what I kind of found. You might find something different, or your situation might be different. Secondary income, this is for, like, let's say the wife, $0 income, like she has no other job. There might be some side gigs that we're talking about here shortly. But for a dual income two parent household, a good number is probably about $3,000 a month, because of there's childcare and other things that usually the wife cannot work as maybe 3 days per week or something like that, or 4 days per week because of childcare. And you see the numbers here after you add things up. Now, I will say before we add them up, side gigs. I did say side gigs for both parties. The reason why I did that, because I think usually the wife, and unless you're a woman and you're making more money than your husband or whatever, that would change, husband or wife. But most of the time, the wife is a stay-at-home mom, or would be able to stay home, but she can also do stuff. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can also have a side gig. There's online businesses, some sort of remote jobs. There's side gigs you can do, whether that's babysitting or making something or whatever, becoming a real estate agent or a real estate investor or whatever. There's so many different things you can do. So let's just say you're making $2,000 a month. in this side gig. This is optimal, obviously. Yours might be more, yours might be less. And then the side gig for the family, the two income, two parent household, let's just say it's $1,000 a month, which is not abnormal. A lot of people have side gigs that they make a little bit of extra money every month. So here's the calculation here. Total income 6,000, about $600 for the single income two parent household, or about 80,000, $78,000. For the dual income two parent household, we get closer to $8,000 a month and about almost $100,000 a year, $99,000 a year. Now we start looking at the income tax difference. How much should probably pay if you're making a little less? You're in a lower tax bracket versus a higher tax bracket, so you're paying more, which is not really a negative. You're just paying more on when you're stepped up the tax basis for the money that is above that. But that does need to be taken into calculation here, because you will be paying more coming out of your account. Housing rent, $1,500, is very reasonable across the board. This is how much you'll be paid for your personal house if you bought one, or a rental house if you're renting. Gas utilities, $300, very normal amount. This is what a lot of our tenants pay with our rentals. This is probably what we pay at our house, $300 a month, very normal. Internet and phone, we don't pay this at all. We probably between my wife and I and our internet altogether, we probably pay something closer to $100 with all three: internet and two cell phones. So $100. So this is way higher than what we pay. Groceries, I don't know. I would have to check on our groceries. Probably $800 sounds fair and reasonable. Health insurance, $600, very reasonable. $600 is a very normal health insurance premium that you could cost. For us, we don't have any daycare or childcare, so $0 for a single parent working outside the home and the mother staying home. And this is very normal. If you don't have daycare, cost $0. But usually daycare cost, if you have two parents that work outside the home, it's usually $1,000 a month or more. So this is like between I was looking it up, maybe $800 to like $1,500 a month for childcare. So $1,100 is a very normal amount, and this could include like even after school programs. This could include things like even activities, things that you put your child in, that you're paying your child to be taken care of for you. And often if you have two parents working outside the home, you'll need more of this type of childcare. Transportation, I did increase transportation for the two parents working outside the home over the one, because I think that there's more vehicles. It's usually we have two vehicles, one for the husband, one for the wife. But usually if you have two parents working outside the home, or two members working outside the home, you'll have nicer cars. You need nicer cars that are more reliable, and you'll be more wear and tear on both of those cars. And so you probably have two nicer cars that you have to travel around with. And these are reasonable numbers, I think. $700, and that's probably low actually. And 1,100. This is for two cars, by the way. This is for car payment and gas. It's probably even higher than this for most families, or at least some families out there. So you can see how much you're paying per year, and you can plug your own numbers into this. Car insurance, $150 a month. Okay, a little higher for the other one, because maybe the cars are valued a little more. Again, your numbers might be different. Debt payments, credit card, student debts, these types of things. Every month, $400, and this is across the board. And I'm just assuming the same. Eating out. Okay, so eating out is totally different, because instead of $400 a month for two parents working outside the home, because you're not home enough to prepare meals. But if the wife is at home making food, all of a sudden your eating out costs go way down. And this is very helpful. Now, this might affect your groceries as well. Maybe your groceries wouldn't be as much if you're eating out more. So there might be some that the $800 up here for groceries might be closer to $700 or $600. I don't know. And that's your call, or whatever's normal for you. Okay, lawn care is $0, because guess what? You have a parent staying home to take care of the household. Now, maybe the wife is not out mowing, maybe she is, or maybe the husband's out mowing, maybe he's not. But there's a higher chance that there's more time for someone to be home to mow instead of hiring it out. A house maintenance, $100 across the board. This is normal. You might want to calculate even more than $100 a month for home maintenance. This should be just saved in your back pocket in case something goes out or you need something done. retirement emergency fund, $200 versus $400. Now, again, these numbers here per month, they might be different in your case. I would suggest go higher than $400 per month if you could, whether you have a two-parent household working or one-parent household working. Try to save as much as you can for that emergency retirement funds. Total expenditures is 5,500 ish, and then over here is about 7,700, $800, and the amount going out is about 66,000 versus $93,000. Now, after you do all the calculations, you start seeing the numbers here. It actually looks better if you have one parent working and instead of two parents working. You actually make more money and at the end of the year. So if you're struggling financially, the reason why it might be that you have two parents working instead of just one parent working. So another thing I think is very important is if you have one parent working, it also forces usually guys work harder, not just work harder, but they become more valuable to their company that they're working at, or they become more valuable to starting their own business, or they're willing to start side gigs more because they know that the pressure's on them to produce more and to do better. And like I said before, even a one person income household for partners, oftentimes the person who's not working can have a side gig. So these numbers could change all over the place for this. So you could be making a lot more than this, even if you have one person staying home. Now, I will say, I might go into this topic in a little more detail later because I'm running out of time here, but there is a social aspect to this as well. So let me just bring up this sheet here. You might not see everything here, and that's fine. Maybe we'll get into this whole thing another time. But I did want to note that it's not just money that we're talking about when we talk about the two parent working outside the home or versus one parent working outside the home. There's also the sociological and family effect. Your kids would be more healthy, more emotionally healthy, more stable, and you'll be able to transmit your family values and religion, Christianity for me, onto my kids. So there's so many positive aspects of having the mom or dad stay home. Specifically in our case, mom, in most cases, mom stay home because she has the capability of taking care of the kids at a much better ability than I have. But there's so many things. Now you can stack this and go beyond just like age 4 or 5 when you start studying them to school. You could say, hey, we could homeschool. And if you homeschool, homeschooling is fairly cheap if you do it right. I mean, you can technically homeschool for absolutely free or really close to free. You can find free stuff online. You can find free resources. People can give you resources. Other homeschoolers have stuff. You can buy cheap stuff. So you can have almost free education. One person staying home to teach your kids things. Now, even if your kids go to a public school or private school, you'll be still spending lots of money on their education, on extra programs, etc., clothing, whatever. And you could take that money and spend it towards education, like DVDs, documentaries, books, educational content, whatever that is, or trips to educational content. So those are just some ideas, and maybe we'll go into the sociological aspect of this later. But I think the number aspect is super important for this because if you understand these numbers, all suddenly you can start getting your mind to start turning and say, hey, actually, we can have one person staying home. Actually, we might do actually better if we have one of the parents stay home instead of farming out the childcare to somebody else, some third party that you might not even know who they are. Have the wife or husband stay home and take care of the kids, and you can save tons of money that way. Tell me what you think down below. Also, don't forget to grab the quick financial freedom checklist, which I give 7 days of things, like really quick steps to become financially free. Now, there's a lot of work behind it, but this quick guide or this checklist is very powerful. And don't forget to like this video and follow this channel. And with that, have a good day.